While global attention is focused on the turmoil unfolding between the United States and Iran, there's a critical situation in Ukraine that has gone largely unnoticed. Ukraine is intensifying its offensive against Russia's military capabilities in what can only be described as a powerful campaign. This effort is dismantling the essential elements that sustain Vladimir Putin's forces. From Russia's air defenses to its drone and missile production and logistics networks, the Ukrainian forces are significantly undermining the operational effectiveness of their adversary. Here's a number that truly demands attention. 105,200 Russian targets were neutralized in just 1 month. This staggering statistic comes from Oleksandr Syrsky, Ukraine's commander-in-chief, who reported that during February 2026, Ukrainian forces hit that amount over just 28 days. To put it into perspective, that averages out to approximately 3,650 targets each day, a remarkable rate of destruction that underscores how differently Ukraine is approaching this conflict. Drones have emerged as a crucial component of Ukraine's strategy, operated with a level of accuracy and intensity that Russia seems unable to counter. Throughout February, Ukrainian forces engaged an extensive range of Russian assets, and we will delve into some of the operations that continued into March, highlighting the growing scope of their target list. However, one particular focus during February merits special attention: the targeting of pilot positions, the individuals controlling Russia's drones. This aspect is vital because these drones play an integral role in supporting ground operations for Russian forces. Understanding Ukraine's approach to dismantling this facet of Russia's military infrastructure provides valuable insight into the shifting dynamics of the war. Spectrum: you have the long-range Shahed-type attack drones battering Ukraine's cities and military infrastructure deep behind the front lines, sapping morale across the entire country and depriving Ukrainian troops of the supplies, equipment, and support they need to hold the line. On the other end, right at the front, Russia is deploying FPV and reconnaissance drones to conduct raids, establish kill zones, and make it incredibly dangerous for Ukrainian forces to move, reposition, or resupply. The beating heart of Russia's entire drone operation is its pilots, the people sitting behind the controllers, and Ukraine figured out something critical in February. Stop targeting the arrows, start hitting the archers. Syrsky himself made this point crystal clear when he acknowledged that it would be impossible for Ukraine to destroy every single FPV drone that Russia is putting into the field. In a Telegram post announcing the February numbers, he noted that Russian forces have now acquired the ability to produce over 19,000 FPV drones per day. If that number is accurate, and there is good reason to believe it is, it represents a massive leap over the roughly 2 million FPV drones Russia was believed to be building across all of 2025, which worked out to about 5,500 drones manufactured per day. Trying to shoot down or destroy all of those drones as they come off production lines and flood the battlefield is simply not feasible. The math does not work in Ukraine's favor. But what Ukraine absolutely can do is go after the people flying them. Even the most advanced FPV drone in the world still requires a human being behind the remote controller to guide it to its target. When Ukraine takes out a pilot position, it does not just eliminate one drone from the fight. It takes hundreds, if not thousands, of FPV drones out of commission in a single blow. Because without an operator to fly them, those drones are just expensive pieces of hardware collecting dust in a warehouse. And if Ukraine executes these strikes precisely, it is not just positions being lost. Pilots go down at the controls of their drones, meaning Russia has to scramble to find and train replacements. Training a competent drone operator takes time, and that is time Russia simply does not have when it is burning through manpower at this rate. Russia has been trying desperately to scale up its drone operator corps as fast as humanly possible. According to Syrsky, Russia was planning to increase the number of unmanned systems troops in its army to 101,000 members by April 1st. So one of the most significant things Ukraine achieved in February was sending a clear, unmistakable message to those pilots who typically operate well behind the combat lines, where they assume they are safe, that they are not safe at all. Ukraine can find them. Ukraine can hit them. and Ukraine can neutralize their entire stock of FPV drones without ever having to destroy a single drone. It is a devastatingly efficient strategy that goes right for the throat. A similar logic applies on the long-range drone front. When most people think about Russia's Shahed drones, there is a natural assumption that all of them are being launched from deep inside Russian territory. And while many certainly are, one of the critical advantages that occupying large portions of Ukraine grants Russia is the ability to fire those drones from much closer to their intended targets. A Shahed drone launched from occupied Crimea, Luhansk, or Donetsk has far less distance to travel than one fired from inside Russia proper. That means less time in the air, less distance for something to go wrong, fewer chances for Ukraine's air defenses to intercept it, and a significantly higher probability of reaching the target. Taking out over 4,000 pilot positions in 1 month strikes directly at that advantage and sharply degrades Russia's ability to exploit the territory it occupies. On the production side of things, Russia was manufacturing 30,000 Shahed-type attack drones per year as of September 2025, according to United 24 Media. In January, RBC Ukraine reported that Syrskyi said Russia wants to reach the point where it can launch 1,000 attack drones at Ukraine every single day. Russia is not quite at that capability yet, and the war in Iran may well have thrown a serious wrench into Putin's plans, given that Iran likely still provides key components that Russia needs to manufacture its own Shahed-type drones domestically. But Russia is still unleashing massive drone swarms on a regular basis. During that same February in which Ukraine destroyed 105,200 targets, Russia launched 5,059 long-range drones into Ukrainian territory, representing a 13% increase over it launched in January. Russia also set a new record for missile launches during that same month, and we will be coming back to that in detail shortly, because Ukraine struck a target that is absolutely vital to Russia's missile production industry. Coming back to drones for now, it is crystal clear that Ukraine's overarching strategy in February was to rip out the beating heart of Russia's entire drone operation. Forget the arrows, although Ukraine still destroyed enormous numbers of those, as Syrskyi also revealed. Taking out pilot positions is far more consequential because arrows simply cannot fly without archers or their bows. And when you layer on over 100,000 additional targets destroyed throughout the month, including military equipment, troop concentration points, command control centers, ammunition depots, and much more, you see a consistent, methodical, and relentless campaign to whittle down Russia's fighting capability piece by piece. Then we move into March, and things only got worse for Russia. With the heart of its drone operation shredded, did Ukraine slow down or take a pause? Not for a single minute. The Kremlin might have hoped for some reprieve, some breathing room to reconstitute and recover. Putin's forces on the ground were practically begging for the strikes to stop so they could regroup. But Ukraine kept the pressure on relentlessly. Strike after strike tore through Russian positions during the first 12 days of March alone, and we have just a sample of those attacks to highlight how effectively Ukraine conducts its campaign of systematic degradation. Now, before we dive deeper into those March strikes, if you have been following this story and finding value in this breakdown, this is a quick reminder that you are watching Sophia Grant Reports. If you have not subscribed yet, now is the perfect time to hit that button so you never miss the latest analysis and updates on this conflict. Let us start with air defenses because they are crucial to understanding the bigger picture. On March 12th, the Kyiv Post reported on comments from Robert Brovdy, the head of Ukraine's unmanned systems forces. He confirmed that Ukraine destroyed 19 elements of Russia's air defense network between March 1st and March 12th. And those strikes included the notable takedowns of an S-300 system and one of Russia's Tor surface-to-air missile units. Who calls these weapons the SBS birds? Shared footage of the strikes in a nearly 4-minute video posted to Telegram on March 12th. In the footage, you see the same devastating pattern repeat over and over. A Ukrainian drone acquires a target, closes the distance steadily, and then scores a direct hit. In many cases, Ukraine follows up by sending additional drones to film the burning wreckage, providing undeniable visual confirmation that the target has been completely destroyed. The Tor system was taken out near Berdyansk, located in the Russian-occupied portion of the Zaporizhzhia region, known to NATO as the SA-15 Gauntlet. This Soviet-era short-range air defense system was originally designed to intercept helicopters, aircraft, and cruise missiles at close range. Russia has repeatedly promoted the Tor as being effective against Ukrainian drones. But the fact that those very same drones found it, targeted it, and destroyed it tells a very different story. This system carries an estimated price tag of $25 to $27 million per unit, and its inability to defend itself against the drones it was supposed to counter proves it is simply not as capable at drone interception as Putin desperately needs it to be. The S-300 system that Ukraine destroyed was located in occupied Luhansk near a settlement called Borovenki, another Soviet-era platform. The S-300 is commonly used by Russia to provide mobile air defense coverage for troop formations, as well as important military facilities and logistical hubs. It can engage many of the same targets as the Tor while adding the capability to intercept certain ballistic missile threats. But Ukraine has been systematically hitting S-300 systems for over 4 years now, and this latest March strike is simply the most recent blow in a deliberate, sustained campaign to dismantle Russia's air defense network from the ground up. And here is why that campaign matters so profoundly. According to Ukrainian figures, 1,332 Russian air defense systems have been destroyed between the start of the full-scale invasion and March 14th. The reason Ukraine is targeting these systems so aggressively is straightforward. It needs to carve open safe aerial corridors through its own territory and through occupied zones to enable deep strikes into Russian-held regions and Russia itself. That may not surprise anyone who has been paying attention, given how central Ukraine's deep strike strategy has become to its overall war effort. But what might surprise you is that a large number of Ukraine's long-range attacks actually fail to reach their targets. Euromonitor Press reported back in December that Russia's air defenses were managing to intercept 90% of Ukraine's incoming drones and missiles. That is a formidable interception rate, though it does mean that 10% are consistently punching through to their targets. Ukraine looks at those numbers and sees a staggering amount of money, resources, and irreplaceable drones being wasted on strikes that absolutely would succeed if Russia's air defense network were sufficiently degraded. Hence, the relentless campaign against those systems. What Ukraine is trying to achieve in 2026 is an operational environment where a far higher percentage of its long-range attacks successfully reach their intended targets. If Ukraine can accomplish that, the consequences for Russia's front lines would be severe. Ukraine's strategic target list includes drone pilot positions, oral processing infrastructure, ammunition storage depots, fuel supply chains, military repair facilities, and all the other critical components that keep Putin's army operational. Remove enough of those components, and the entire Russian front weakens dramatically. There are also Russia's deeper structural air defense problems to consider, and these are significant. Sanctions have severely damaged the Kremlin's ability to manufacture replacement air defense systems at any meaningful rate. A December article from the Kyiv Post highlighted that Russia's inability to source certain key electronic and mechanical components for its air defense platforms represents the single biggest vulnerability. In its entire defense network, no components means no new systems being built, or at the very best, replacement systems being assembled at a rate far too slow to offset the ones Ukraine keeps destroying. Supply chain failures across the board have forced Russia into an impossible strategic dilemma. It can either strip air defenses from positions inside Russia to fill the gaps Ukraine creates at the front, thereby leaving Russian territory more exposed, or it can leave those gaps open and accept that Ukraine's strikes will grow more effective over time. The Kyiv Post even suggested that Russia may be just one well-placed strike or one well-timed sanction away from permanently losing the ability to produce any more S-400 air defense systems, which would remove one of the most important pieces of military equipment from the entire war. Either way, Ukraine comes out ahead, no matter how Russia chooses to respond. The safe aerial corridors Ukraine needs are steadily opening up, enabling even more devastating strikes against Russia's forces and its broader war machine. And there is still more to cover. Operations. Ukraine also went after Russia's logistics networks in March with punishing effectiveness. On March 12, Ukrainian drones destroyed a fuel and lubricants train in the Dovzhansk sector of the Luhansk region. That very same day, Ukraine also wiped out an ammunition warehouse in occupied Luhansk, destroying thousands of artillery shells stored inside, and took out a repair unit belonging to a Russian artillery brigade in Yakimivka in the Zaporizhzhia region. It was a devastating day for Russia on multiple fronts simultaneously. The fuel train strike was particularly significant for several important reasons. Taking fuel away from Russia's forces means that their tanks and armored vehicles cannot move. It means mobile artillery pieces and air defense systems suddenly become stationary, which transforms them into sitting ducks for follow-up Ukrainian strikes. With lubricants destroyed alongside the fuel in this train attack, Ukraine also eliminated a critical component used in the routine maintenance of Russia's military equipment. Without proper lubrication, engines wear out faster, mechanical failures become more frequent, and equipment breaks down in the field at the worst possible moments. Even if Ukraine cannot stop every single piece of Russian equipment from functioning, it can force a cascading degradation that makes that equipment far less effective and reliable than Putin's troops need it to be in active combat. This strike also showed Ukraine taking a page directly from Russia's own playbook. Both sides understand perfectly well the critical importance of logistics in sustaining a modern war, and specifically the essential role that railway network works play in keeping their armies supplied. Approximately 90% of Russian freight is transported by rail, and that figure applies to military supplies every bit as much as commercial goods. If Russia's troops want fuel, ammunition, spare parts, or lubricants delivered to the front, those supplies almost certainly need to arrive by train. Russia has been exploiting Ukraine's similar dependence on rail by systematically hitting bridges, rail yards, and trains to disrupt Ukrainian logistics. Ukraine's public railway company, Ukrzaliznytsia, reported on these Russian attacks in a March 12 statement. On that very same day, Ukraine hit back hard by destroying a Russian fuel and lubricants train in the occupied territories, sending a pointed message that this logistics war cuts both ways. And somehow, it gets even worse for Russia. With the heart of its drone operation gutted, its belly torn open through strikes on logistics and air defense nodes, Ukraine also delivered a massive blow to Russia's missile production capability. Earlier in March, Russia launched another of its combined missile and drone strikes against Kharkiv. What made this attack stand out was the use of a brand new missile type called the Izdelia-30. This weapon has a range of 1,500 kilometers, roughly 932 miles, and can deliver approximately 800 kilograms of explosive payload. United 24 media reports that Russia has been launching these missiles from Su-34 fighter jets operating from within Russian territory, making it an extremely dangerous new addition to Russia's arsenal. So Ukraine did something about it. On March 10th, Ukrainian forces used Storm Shadow cruise missiles provided by the United Kingdom to strike the Kremin microelectronics plant located in the border region of Bryansk. 7 Storm Shadow missiles rained down on the plant's main production facility. The extent of the destruction visible in photographs taken after the strike strongly suggests that the Kremin plant has been effectively knocked out of operation, and with it goes Russia's ability to produce more Izdelia-30 missiles because the specialized microelectronics required to build them were manufactured at the very facility Ukraine just destroyed. This strike powerfully underscores how vital it is that Western nations continue allowing Ukraine to use the missiles they provide against legitimate military targets inside Russia. What we witnessed here was Ukraine attacking the missile brain of Russia's entire strategy. Heart, belly, and brain have all been struck, and the implications are enormous given the scale of Russia's ongoing aerial campaign. Colonel Yuri Inat, the head of the communications department of the Ukrainian Air Force, laid out that scale in stark terms on March 9th. He noted that Russia has been deploying significantly more ballistic missiles throughout the 2025 to 2026 period, stating that there were approximately 12.5 massive combined strikes during the winter alone, and that the use of missiles flying on ballistic trajectories has increased dramatically compared to earlier phases of the war. The hard numbers support his assessment entirely. In February 2026, Ukraine absorbed a record-breaking missile barrage. Russia fired 288 missiles into Ukrainian territory that month, which averages out to just over 10 missiles per day. According to United 24 media, Russia had not launched that volume of missiles into Ukraine since 2023, and it appeared to signal a clear strategic shift toward relying more heavily on its most destructive aerial weapons as 2026 progresses. At least that was the plan. With the Crimean facility now reduced to rubble, production of at least one of Russia's missiles, and its newest and most capable one at that, will have to come to a halt. When you step back and add everything together, the picture is absolutely staggering. Over 105,000 targets destroyed in February alone, more than 4,000 drone pilot positions eliminated, critical air defense systems torn apart across multiple regions, a fuel and lubricant train destroyed deep in occupied territory, an ammunition warehouse leveled, a military repair unit wiped out, and a microelectronics plant essential to Russia's newest missile program reduced to smoking ruins. That is an extraordinarily successful month and a half for Ukraine, and the message being sent to the rest of the world is unmistakable. While everyone else has their eyes locked on Iran, Ukraine is quietly, systematically, and ruthlessly dismantling the lifeline of Russia's war machine. One devastating strike at a time, and make no mistake about it, these strikes are only going to intensify as 2026 moves forward. Ukraine has been rewriting the rules of modern airstrikes by developing capabilities and weapon systems so advanced and innovative that they have genuinely never been seen before in the history of warfare. The pain for Russia is far from over, and what comes next could change the trajectory of this entire conflict. If you want to stay informed about what is happening in this war and understand the strategies shaping its outcome, make sure you subscribe to our channel so you never miss an update. Check out our latest video for even more details on the extraordinary new capabilities Ukraine is bringing to the fight. More pain is coming for Russia, and you are absolutely going to want to see what happens next.